Atua Lakshman, over to you.
Right. Thank you, Deepak. Primoria, Taitua, Sanjeev, and fellow Thomians in New Zealand. Thank you, Deepak and Anuru, for your foresight and hard work in getting the STCOBA up and running in New Zealand. My first association with STC was at the prep school in Kollapitia when I joined the upper kindergarten in 1954. Mr. Perimpanagam was the headmaster at the time. Our class teacher was not averse to giving us the traditional knock, or as they call it, hilvena tokka, when the occasion demanded it, and even sometimes when it didn't. From the prep school, it was off to the lower fourth in Mount Lavinia in 1959. It was the beginning of a new era in college, as Warden Davidson had just taken over from Warden DeSera. Our class master was Mr. Cook, who was also the middle school headmaster. Our big thrill in those days was to have paperboat races in the flowing rainwaters of a big drain by the middle school. From the warden down, most of the masters and teachers had nicknames. Poeta, Bulto, Poltokka, Polvira, Pang, Bammu, and Rajabba come to mind. The masters are remembered not only because of their teaching abilities, but also due to their eccentricities. One such was Pang, who was our maths master. He got his nickname as he used to ride around for exercise on what looked like a baker's bike. Some boys entered his name for the Cyclist of the Year contest, and very soon, due to voting support from the boys at STC, Pang was up there with the leaders in the competition, much to the consternation of the contest organizers, who did not have a clue as to who he was. A touch of glamour was added to the staff when the lower school recruited June Boromassa. The Royal Thomaian cricket match was the highlight of our year. It was, in those days, a two-day match when masters turned a blind eye to the antics of the boys. A UK cricket writer who had been in Colombo to cover a test match some years ago was amazed that this school game should get the crowds and media attention it got, while a test match being played at the same time was almost totally ignored. My time in Mount Lavinia would not be complete without a reference to the legendary Inspector Joseph. He was a tough, no-nonsense type of guy with an imposing figure and big moustache to go with it. He cleared the beaches at Mount of the hoodlums who terrorized genuine visitors after dark. I'm also told of good friend Thomians who were arrested for minor offences during match days. I left college to do accountancy in June 1964, soon after receiving my O-level results. By a happy coincidence, I signed articles at Turk & Young's, now Ernst & Young, under Aubrey Pires, son of the former lower school headmaster. A major change to our lives occurred in 1974 when my wife Neela and I came to New Zealand. After a year in Whangarei, we shifted to Auckland, where we have lived ever since. At that stage, Auckland had less than 100 Sri Lankan families. There were small Indian and Chinese communities established by those who were brought in many years before to do market gardening and mining. Pacific Islanders were also allowed entry to man the factories. Some of the Indians and Chinese moved on from market gardens to become retail fruiterers. Many people would assume that we were fruiterers, and when introduced for the first time, were asked, "Where is your fruit shop located?" In the 70s, there weren't many restaurants, and after dark, the whole city shut down. A friend's mother who was here on a visit from Sri Lanka, when asked how she was enjoying her stay, said, "Kanatte metana wadiya pana tiyanwa," or "There is more life in Kanatte than here." In true Sri Lankan style, we had many social gatherings at people's homes, and in school or church halls. There was good fellowship and harmony in the Sri Lankan community, and everyone knew each other. From the 80s, there was a surge in the number of Sri Lankans allowed into New Zealand. It is now not uncommon to hear Sinhalese and Tamil being spoken in supermarkets. Despite this increase, there were insufficient numbers to have a vibrant Thomian group in Auckland. As the Royalists also faced a similar problem, we joined together to have an annual Royal Thomian dance. This was very popular and open to all. One of the best dances we had was when we got down an old Thomian, Sam the Man, to be the principal performer at the dance. He was backed by a local band and he gave of his best. One part of my welcome speech as co-chair did not go down too well with the Royalists. I told the story of a Royalist and a Thomian who died at the same time. When they approached the pearly gates, the Thomian, being a true gentleman, let the Royalist step forward first to meet St. Peter, the formidable guardian of the gate. St. Peter asked the Royalist sternly, "Have you done any evil deeds in your life?" "Only one, St. Peter," said the Royalist. "I was the wicket-keeper in the Royal Thomian match when the last Thomian batsman came out to play. I knew he missed the ball, but I loudly appealed for a catch. The umpire gave him out and we won the match." "That's a terrible thing you did. Go straight to hell," thundered St. Peter. The Thomian then came forward in fear and trembling, and when asked the same question said, "I was the wicket-keeper at a Royal Thomian match when I loudly appealed for a catch, though I knew his bat did not touch the ball. The umpire gave him out and we won the match." St. Peter said, "Oh, that's only a minor misdemeanor, my son. You can go straight to heaven." The Thomian was surprised and overjoyed and said, "Thank you, St. Peter, for being so kind." The guardian of the gate said, "By the way, St. Peter is on holiday. I am St. Thomas." Neela and I have been very happy to have lived in New Zealand these past 48 years. In fact, I would say there is no better place to live in. This does not mean that life was a bed of roses for us. No, we had ups and downs and tragedies, the same as most people. We have observed that most New Zealanders are practical, hardworking people with sound values and who are responsive to the needs of others. Government have also not been afraid to take a principled stand on issues such as being first to give women the vote and going nuclear-free despite facing sanctions. I can hear some children.
I think it's Mavinder's.
That's all right. Make it a family affair. Over the years, the country has changed much. It has moved from a controlled economy to an open economy, and from having few ethnic restaurants to having an abundance of culinary delights from all over the world. Sadly, the egalitarian society that existed when we arrived here has changed, with the gap between have and have not widening. It is essential that immigrants to New Zealand, and indeed all New Zealanders, understand its history and why the Tangata Whenua, or people of the land, the Maori, are overrepresented in jails, have shorter lifespans, and poorer health outcomes compared to the rest of the population. A visit to the Waitangi Treaty Grounds and its relatively new museum is a must to appreciate New Zealand's history and the sad consequences of colonization on this proud warrior race who own these two beautiful islands. Enabling Maori to achieve their full potential is a challenge facing New Zealand today. As immigrants, we face many challenges when adapting to a different way of life. We need to retain the best from our past and absorb the best from the new society. the clash of cultures can become problematic when bringing up children, particularly in their teenage years. I would like to remember Ken Rasanagam and Indran Indrakumar, two old Thomians who would have loved to have been here today. Sadly, they both passed away prematurely, but many of us have fond memories of them. Finally, did I hear someone say about time? I would like to think that the STC-OBA will be an active and enlightened space, devoid of prejudice and antagonism based on race, religion, caste, gender, or sexuality. Let us live in peace and harmony with goodwill towards all, practicing the most important values that STC stands for. Esto Perpetua.
Esto Perpetua, Lakshman. Thank you very much for that walk down history, peppered with a few good antidotes. And I do remember the Pang story from lots of our uncles, parents, and so on. That was truly funny. On to the next